So welcome to our closing webinar. We titled it, "What did we learn about architecture of togetherness?" My name is Meri Batakoya. Also, I introduced myself on our first opening webinar. I am here in multiple roles as your welcoming host, as a course director of this 29th session Summer School of Architecture, and as part of the jury committee in the evaluation process of the competition works. I am really very happy and honored that the students showed great interest in the format and the topic of our 29th session Summer School of Architecture, the topic of homage to togetherness. I was somehow even touched that they dedicated almost 3 weeks of their summer holidays to think and design of the special patterns of togetherness. So thank you to all who showed interest, especially to the most resilient ones, the 35 teams that managed to finish their design and submit them until the deadline of 17th of August. Instead of an introduction, I will allow myself to share with you a personal story, because this whole process reminded me of one student competition I was part of many years ago. I think it was the distant 2006. The theme was Summer Architecture and Design Pavilion in Novosibirsk, Siberia, Russia. And it was my last free summer as a student, so I had all the time, free time and free thought to work with. My pavilion was called Matryoshka Pavilion and should have represented architectural translation of the Russian Matryoshka doll. It is also known as babushka doll, those stacking dolls of decreasing size that match perfectly when placed one inside of another. And I was very proud of my work. I thought that the idea was great and that I managed to go beyond the cheesy title I came up with, the Matryoshka Pavilion, because I treated it abstractly as a structure within a structure within a structure, and managed to distribute both the program and the gradation of intimacy and light through a single formal strategy. And I was ranked 29th at the end of the competition out of, I think, 180 competition works. I know it is not an information to be publicly proud about, but I was very satisfied at that moment because the jury committee managed to make a complete ranking, and I also got myself the first written review that was consisted of a detailed description of my work that showed to me that someone looked at it with care in all its details. I was praised for the idea and for the presentation of it, but also the jury committee said that they were somehow disappointed that I have treated the Matryoshka principle as a static one, as an object within an object within an object, and lacked the dynamicity and the excitement of the very process of dismantling, opening and dismantling of the whole. And then they discussed how that dynamicity and the excitement can become a subject for architecture, and listed 1 or 2 scenarios of a pavilion that could generously spread out and spread back in. So I thought, why didn't I think of that at first place? It was my idea after all, but I was satisfied with the dedicated feedback I've got. And that feedback was not on my architectural project, but my architectural thought. And it resonates with me even today as one of the most important student experiences I've got. And my only concern through this whole summer school of architecture was if we were going to manage to show the same care for our contestants who spend their summer on a given architectural challenge, the right for a feedback on their architectural thought that will help them grow their ideas, a real lesson learned. And I only hope that we did manage to do that, thanks to all of my colleagues from the jury. I would also like to underline my pleasure to be part of the evaluation process. It was a very pleasant experience for me, with honest, open, and inspirational discussions. The jury evaluation process is a creative process itself. It represents more or less the subtle interventions in the design ideas of the contestants. The jury discussions transform the design ideas of the contestants, or more appropriately, they stretch them. It's kind of a elasticity of ideas in action, and only the most resilient ones, the most elastic ideas remain on the table. And while happening, it is the most profound place to be in, at least for me, to be in the space of levitating ideas of architecture on togetherness. So I'm really, really proud to once again introduce to all of you the jury that had all the hard work and all the pleasure to evaluate the competition work. I've introduced them multiple times to you, so I will introduce them to you once again very shortly and very friendly. We have Antje Buchholz and Jürgen Pachak-Por from Berlin. Hello.
Hello.
We have Maria Manovelevska from Skopje. Anna Kreć is here with us, but I don't know why we cannot hear her. Anna? Do you hear us? Anna, hello, welcome. Please unmute yourself, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was coming in a bit late. I didn't want to bother, you were already speaking, so I'm a bit late. Sorry, guys, but hi to everyone.
Hi. Unfortunately, Jovan and Anna from Skopje said that they are still having their exam, so we will see if they join us a little bit later. So I will ask all of you to share with us your impressions on the topic of the summer school, of the evaluation process, competition works, anything you think it's important, valuable for our students to hear. Have our contestants learned about architecture of togetherness? Do you as jury members maybe learn something more on architecture and togetherness? So if there is any imprint of all of this experience. Antje and Jürgen, welcome, and please be the first to share with us your thoughts.
So Jan, hello everybody. Very different experience, not to be in Skopje this time, but to do it from Berlin. So we are sitting now in Berlin in our office and talking to you in Skopje. But first of all, thanks a lot that we were invited. We really enjoyed being part of the group. And of course, I had a slight advantage in comparison to Antje, because I know Lazaropole, and therefore I was able to explain to Antje a bit what the situation is, and to make it more easy for us to decide on the individual projects. As a very rough summary, I mean, of the summer school, which of course this year, or in this particular situation this year was the coronavirus, compared to the regular summer school, which is now happening in Lazaropole every year, where the groups work with the support of tutors, the students work in group, and everyone is trying to achieve a result. I mean, this year it was more like a competition with individual entries, And maybe, as Mary already pointed out, it's a kind of a different kind of test, maybe a first praxis test for young architects. But for us as a jury, I think, or at least that is the impression or feeling that I got, that it was really important for us that we don't leave the experimental ground of architectural education. Thus, those projects that we have selected in the end are, in my eyes, good examples for good approaches and for a variety of approaches. We even tried to honor projects who came from a rather unbelievable direction, such as, let's say, the smell of plants. By that, we wanted to make clear or to point out that architectural concepts can actually integrate all those ideas. Therefore, I would say our message was, rather than sort of looking for the best pragmatic solution, it was rather to open up different routes within the architectural and experimental, to open up this kind of working field within architecture and point out that it is an experimental area. And those and all your entries have actually shown an amazing variety of those approaches, but also proficiency in executing those ideas. And we really appreciate your work that you have done under these very unusual conditions. You know, everyone being isolated and work for himself throughout the summer. To me, it's also important that, as Mary pointed out, she ended as 29th. I think no one should feel sad for not being selected. I'm sure you will be selected the next time. That's for sure. I have only one. I mean, this was more like a general comment now, and now I have a specific comment that maybe we both observed, but as Antje is going into more detail soon. That was the idea of context. In a lot of projects, I was actually missing the context. Although Lazaropole is a very has a very peculiar place, very unusual in the mountains and so on. But a lot of the project, you didn't really feel that sort of architectural situation or spatial situation that you're in. And if I can give something or add to your future architectural education, I would say context is really important. Context is let's say, sometimes it can be dirty, it can be beautiful, but it should never be invented. It should be real, and architecture should relate to it. And there are different ways how you can relate to context. I mean, there is, of course, the material world, but there's also the social world. And I think you should show both material and social. You should show a building that is positioned, creates interior spaces, but also exterior spaces. And this kind of interference with the existing, I think it should be shown in your plans. It should also be shown how it creates social spaces and how it interacts with social life of a place. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay. So Yeah, I think I will relate to this idea of context as well. But first of all, I wanted to say I really appreciated the great variety of projects that was really enormous, like the different approaches of the 35 hand-ins. And I also really enjoyed and appreciated the discussions we had among the jury. So we had like 2 sessions and intensely discussed. And for everybody who is like not mentioned or awarded today, you can be assured that we looked at each of your projects and read all the text and really looked in great detail. And I think what was interesting that it was possible somehow to group the approaches to find like a similarity between different projects. Like, for example, we had like quite a lot of projects that had this, followed the idea of a circle, of a round shape as a symbol for togetherness. So there were quite a few of those projects. And what we tried to, in order to find a way of judging or talking about these very heterogeneous projects, we figured out some criteria that we were discussing a lot. And and one of the main criteria to me was the first one is this idea of togetherness. So which idea of togetherness was each project representing? So that was one important point to judge or talk about a project. And another important point was the originality of the design or the idea, and how far the project was architecturally articulated. And the third one that I was also mentioning was the idea of context. So for me, I must say, and I learned a lot about that. I mean, I'm totally aware of the difficulty you were all facing working on a project. About a place you haven't visited, and all the information you had to gather were through internet or the other jury members. But still, I think what is really interesting about Lazaropole is that it's a phenomenon as a village. It's that we see very often today. Like if you look at the demographic situation, you have a village that with aging people and the younger people leaving the villages and maybe coming back in summer to have this idea of summer resort, or we have this word in German, Sommerfrische, which means the freshness of the summer, and you come back and maybe meet your grandparents, and I think that to me was a very important point to really try to imagine the actual situation in that village, which we find in many other villages also around Berlin and other places, that we have an elderly generation meeting maybe the younger generation in summer. And I think that the award-winning projects in the end were very sensitive towards, acted very sensitive towards this context. And context, as Jürgen mentioned, is we understand very much on different levels, like on the level of the actual, the local, the site, the topography, the typology, but also very important, the social context. Who is the population? What is the life in the village? The projects we selected or ended up talking a lot about were projects who in some kind related to to this idea of context. So be it either this idea of creating togetherness by maybe creating a common event, like a common experience. And the next question is, how could that be? How is that an architectural question? So what happens if you gather people around a table? So what then is the quality of that table or of that piece? And that were the questions we found very interesting. So some of the ideas, so it doesn't mean that you have to give answers or like design a whole building that tries to maybe to fill in or combine too many ideas or impose a program that does not really seem appropriate. So we were rather focusing on the very like on those projects who in a way found a quite convincing way of well, relating either to the idea of creating an event or creating some kind of like new site location for people just to spend time. And yeah, and I think that was, I must say, I mean, the prizes we ended up with show like 3 very different approaches in that concern. And I think that's, yeah, what we tried to do. And I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Kric, will you share with us your experience of the evaluation process?
Yes, thank you, Mary. First of all, like Antje and Jürgen said, congratulations to everyone, not just those who are going to get an award or the ones who are going to be mentioned, but everyone who actually participated, took their summertime and, you know, spent 3 more weeks working and thinking about a particular site that obviously has a lot of issues. For me, it was in a way quite difficult because I haven't been to Lazaropole before. I would very much enjoy the summer school model as well, because there's like a different point of togetherness. You learn from the culture, you learn from the experience, from living there, from communicating with people, and you know, the time in which we're currently placed obviously makes togetherness somehow obsolete. It is changing our social space, the way how we interact, the way how we participate in cultural events. So I think that to some extent the projects did not reflect this situation just yet. I think the projects were optimistic, you know, using basically this idea of COVID as something which is currently inhabiting this moment, but eventually we will come back to the state of some sort of normality, as we all hope. But nevertheless, I think we had a very interesting discussion among the jury members. I think it was surprising, maybe also in the end, which projects we chose, because from first to second session, there was a lot of, I don't know, back and forth, and there were different arguments presented that perhaps changed the idea of some other jury members. But I think that in the end, majority was happy with whatever we chose. And hopefully you will be as well. It is, I think, when you're judging a project, that's, I think, something that you have to think about quite greatly, is that you don't look at it just by the way how it is presented or by the way how the first idea is communicated, but you really try to look through the text, try to see the underlying ideas that actually are behind one project. So in this regard, we could notice that there are some younger students, older students, the one who can present the technical drawings better, but there were other people who actually had great ideas. You know, they were well developed through text, through schemes, through photography, even though you could see there's a certain point of naivety in some of the projects, but maybe, you know, it's still time to praise this naivety as something positive. We rarely do that, and sometimes you have to, and just step back and say, look, actually one can learn from naivety or from the relaxedness. When someone is relaxed, usually you see that with first-year students. They come into the faculty and they are relaxed. They are white piece of paper in the way how they express themselves, in the way how they present their drawings, and so on and on. But nevertheless, sometimes they present really good ideas. I think in the culture that drives on the competitions, either paid, non-paid, open calls, I think it's important that you, as young professionals to be, or still students, participate in as many competitions as possible. Like Mary, I was also, I will share a personal story. I was told, you either participate in a competition if you want to win, or if you want to agitate the status quo, when you really try to push your own agenda, or when you try to actually introduce something new in the field of architecture. So when you don't think about the end result, but you really think about your own ethical values, what are you going to put out there in the world? And if you win, or if you don't win, it's important that you're proud on your project, that you participate, and that you submit. The worst thing that you can do is that you participate in a competition and then you don't submit. It is the culture that actually, asks for certain precision. You have to deliver something within a certain deadline, and it is something that is greatly connected with our architectural profession, that gives us more and more tasks, bureaucracy that you will face in your future. So I think it's important that you're precise, that you compete, and that when you compete, you always ask yourself, are you going to be more like a conformist and try to win? Because usually the winning proposals, at least in the ex-Yugoslav context, seem to be a bit more reserved, or you're actually doing something because you're trying to make the point, or you're actually proposing an alternative solution, because there's a lot of projects in this world that are not ethical, and that we as architects, as public intellectuals, will actually have to propose ideas, projects that will solve, let's say, global, larger societal issues, especially when we're getting a commission for a public project. So this is the case as well in Lazaropole, which has a much greater problem than just this pavilion. But sometimes with one intervention, you can really spark a change. But I would like to conclude maybe with what Frank Gilabert, she was the ex-director of AA School of Architecture, said, she said, everyone would like to build a museum. It is this sort of dream task for an architect, that as maybe is the church and other public buildings. But what is this museum actually doing? What is its program? Who is its director? What sort of events this sort of museum is actually doing? Museum is connected with all sorts of financing mechanisms, and so on and so on. And the way how a certain building is handled in its afterlife, after it's being built, it's something that also defines if the architectural intervention is of high quality or not, if this intervention has done something for the society or not. And this actually changes the profession of an architect from mere object builder to, let's say, an architect who works as an agency. Someone who is able to curate events, someone who is able to write an article, someone who is able to respond as public intellectual with build projects, with its voice, with, as I said, written texts, exhibitions, and so on. So this is something where I would actually like to conclude. I think that from 2008 to 2020, our profession is really changing. And as much as it is important that you participate in competitions, try to do them as critically as possible. always take into account a much larger context, as much data as you can get, and above all, as an architect, be driven by the empathy. Let the empathy define the form, empathy towards the people, and recognizing the deep context that you have around yourself. And this would be my final remark. And thank you everybody really for your effort. And to the jury members, I think we had great discussions. So congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Anna, so much. Maria? Oh, please.
Yes, I think I started the microphone now. Hello, everybody, and once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in this special forum, let's say, of the summer school. It has been really a pleasure, despite all the circumstances that we are facing nowadays. And I also thank the other jury members that spoke before me today for expressing their personal but very also I think experienced fueled thoughts and messages to the students. So I will go along with all of those, especially with the acknowledgement of all the students that have lasted through this month of thinking, then acting on the given topic, and finally submitting their proposals for this competition call. It is, I think, and I believe for students very important to go through all that process that must have been questioning and very facing different challenges. Especially, I believe that not many of the students, even the local ones, have had the chance to visit the site. So, but that's also probably an experience that can be very good for their future activities when they are going to be given the same or similar possibilities to enter competitions for different sites all around the world, as it is so common these years. And personally, I have always praised the Summer School of Architecture as one very vital segment of the education process at our faculty, the local ones, but also I have all the support for all other sorts of less formal, let's say, learning formats like workshops, seminars, etc., because they really, I think, add another value to the what is generally known as a regular or formal curriculum at the faculties or the architecture schools. And I see this competition, this format of the summer school, as yet another form of learning through design task on a specific theme with all the challenges that this competition brought. And it could have been, let's say, discussed because the regular, or what we have praised our summer school for, is the working together, the collaborations, and the togetherness that these summer school formats make. Then we have a competition that is per se a competing of personal, of individual ideas, but I would like to think differently, just trying to point another, let's say, taking another point of view, that this is also, I think this competition has succeeded in the intention to create a sort of community around one topic of togetherness. And it is, as usually the summer schools bring different individuals, different students coming from different parts of the world, or even when we have the local students, they're coming from their different age, different level of their educations, and the results really show this kind of variety and difference in the ideas, the approaches, and of course the, let's say, the presentations of those. And I am very happy about that kind of variety that this competition brought, because it speaks that, as I said, there can be something that can bring people, no matter what age, sex, or background, cultural, political, whatever they come from, and express their own points of view. And I think, as the other jury members said before me, they have been expressed in different ways. And but again, I can just point out that probably we are trained as teachers to look through all of them very carefully and trying to find the potential that lies in every one of them. So I guess that when the projects get publicly shown somehow, probably through this virtual internet world, I think each of the participants can be proud to be part of this sort of community, and then once again have a reflection on their own experience, and which is one that is very important, that not just the self-reflection going again through their own projects, but also positioning themselves among the other entries. So I think that this can produce, let's say, another learning experience, and that can be very fruitful for the future years of the students that we consider as professionals to come. And also I want to point out the evaluation process that, as you, Mary, have mentioned, was not easy. It's never quite easy, but I have also enjoyed it very much, and I also want to thank the other jury members for expanding the thoughts and sharing the sometimes similar but sometimes different points, and that really resulted in very inspiring discussions. And I can only hope that we will continue these talks in person sometime soon, and of course to see as many students as possible at the next summer school at Lazaropola. Thank you once again, and congratulations to all the participants.
Thank you, Maria, so much. I would like to add that I fear that I start to enjoy these virtual meetings of ours. We never before had the opportunity to have a glimpse in someone's private or working spaces directly from Berlin, Ljubljana, Skopje. So I kind of enjoy that background details. We come to the most important part now, the public announcement of the recognized and awarded competition works. We as jury members agreed that we will allocate 3 prizes, first, second, and third, as was prescribed in the announcement of the competition, but also another 7 honorable mentions for special contribution to the topic of the competition that together make our top 10 best projects of the competition. So I will start with the honorable mention and come to the 3 prizes. I'll present the works in the name of the jury and read part of the a little excerpts from the written reviews. I prepared a short presentation that will illustrate the projects for you. I hope you can see the presentation.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, great. Here I have the official jury report, but I will read the excerpts backwards from the honorable mentions. Okay, so we start with the recognition and awards. Recognitions top 10. One honorable mention goes to the project titled Nostalgic Familiarity, Reinventing Memories. How does togetherness smells like as a persistent memory is a curious question that is asked through this project. I think Jürgen mentioned it before. However, the jury questioned the choice of the lavender as the scent of togetherness and its relation to the Lazaropola genius loci or genius loci. The jury highly evaluates the unique sensibility regarding the notion of togetherness, expressed also through the aquarellist representations. Do we have the authors of this project here so we can ask about the scent of lavender that we were so curious about?
Yes, hello.
Oh, hello. Congratulations.
Thank you. Just I'll wait for my partner to actually join this meeting.
We didn't have a plan to surprise you by asking you to answer anything, but we were very curious about the choice of the lavender, so I thought that it would be great if we asked, why did you choose the scent of the lavender in the context of Lazaropola?
Well, I don't know, it's just sorry.
Okay, I surprised you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, kind of. But I guess lavender associates us with togetherness somehow. I mean, maybe it's just our memory, like there's not a particular reason, just some feeling that we had about lavender and that it will suit the whole. I mean, when we think about togetherness, we associate it with that particular smell.
So it's a personal one, yes?
Yes, definitely.
Great, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We come to the second honorable mention. The project that is titled Lazaropola Get Together Pavilion, a traditional complex for rethinking our universal values. The jury especially values the author's process of design based upon a handmade model that, meticulous and detailed as it is in itself homage to believe in togetherness. According to authenticity of the presentation, it is uniquely conceptualized around phasing photography of the handmade model with accent put on materiality and tactility that adds to the overall concept of the traditional craftsmanship and the aim towards a real physical and special encounter. The third honorable mention goes to the project that we titled Structuralist Intuition. The project represents interesting ambition to test the formal outcome out of combining actual lines that encourage movement to the location site and basic geometric typologies in the intersecting points of the axis that situate different types of interaction, like private interaction, semi-private, and public interaction. The solution is inspired by authors' observations on how different types of community manifest different forms of informal gatherings. The 3D visualizations speak of a very vibrantly imagined situation of togetherness with great possibility, enabled by the structural elements consisting of primary, secondary axes, geometric typologies, secluded areas along the secondary axis, exposed areas along the primary axis, rhythm of frames as stop points, the circle of geometry, the circle as geometry of the collective, etc. Despite the shortcomings of the elaboration, the jury underlines the great intuition behind this concept and praises the author's committed work. The next honorable mention as part of the top 10 projects goes to the project we titled the Zigzag Agora. I think Anna Kretsch titled it. Yes. The project marks a strong center with a public fireplace, a beginning of a future agora, and further formalizes it through a linear gesture that asserts the perimeter of the site. The linear gesture opens on the north side to form a portal. It is structured by zigzag wooden elements that grow into rhomboids on the west and the east side. The jury highly evaluates the singularity of the concept that through a single gesture unites the programmatic possibilities and the strong formal identity that creates the new mezzanine in the village of Lazaropole, where you see and are observed by the others. The jury also highly evaluates the convincing depiction and possibility for experiencing the festive energy of a village fair. The next honorable mention goes to the project we titled the Treehouse Dream. It is a project that is based upon author's personal association on togetherness. It is an assemblage of 6 single tree houses. The tree house is an epitome of childhood. It associates children's freedom of creative imagination and adventures, a coexistence with nature and closeness to the sky, and first independence from the adult world. So what does this image of multiplied tree houses represent when put in the middle of our pandemic adult world is a question that is asked through this project. The jury also underlines the technical maturity of the architectural representation. So I think we come to our, yes, the top 10 recognitions, very close to our prizes.
Top 5.
Top 5 recognitions, I'm sorry. So the 5th honorable mention goes to the project titled Go Gather. In our togetherness, castles are built. Authors state in their panels a famous Irish proverb. So the project is conceptualized around a special grid, planks and railings and modules, purple elements that resemble newly designed scaffolding that can be easily manipulated by its users in order to support multiple programmatic scenarios in a centric configuration. It is inspired, in the words by its authors, by Lazaropole's historical story on togetherness about the Church of St. George that was built with participation of every citizen. Although the juxtaposition of contemporaneity and tradition is a prevailing theme in the visual presentation, an idea about further and more sensitive usage of this scaffolding was discussed by the jury members. Despite the scaffolding idea being exhausted in many recent architectural projects, it is, however, a very curious architectural product, a frame for opening the context of architecture and Lazaropole towards contemporary, collaborative and participative artistic practices. The 4th honorable mention goes to the project named Social Forest, inspired by etymological definition of Lazaropole that means large area without forest. So the authors came up with an idea of planting a social forest out of a vernacular-like single module. of 2.5 and 2.5 meters that was further architecturally developed in a growing scenario. The jury highly appreciates the overall composition according to the location site, the formal outcome of regular irregularity, and the scale of the proposed structure. The permeability of open and closed spaces that enables casual coexistence of nature, people, and architecture is praiseworthy quality, and the jury also underlines the technical maturity of the architectural representation. So we come to the first awarded project, the third place. The third place goes to the project named The Oasis of Peace and Togetherness. The project is evaluated as a very realistic one, based upon down-to-earth rational decisions that lead towards strong sensibility in accordance with the everydayness value of the location site. It is a design proposal of a new public space instead of pavilion structure that accentuates the directions of walking and viewing focuses on the axis of west and east, where instead of using the main street on the full sun, an alternative of green islands titled Oasis of Peace and Togetherness is created. So the program consists of a plaza on the east side and a grill cove on the west. It is a casual place for coming, sitting, eating together while enjoying the sun or the shade of the trees. The architectural representation is also simple, consistent to all the standpoints it communicates, and technically mature. Congratulations. Do we have the authors of the third prize here?
Yes, hello. Sadly, the other person, Lydia Pranic, who also worked on this, couldn't be here today. But yes, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I'm very surprised that this is the first time I participated in a competition, and I'm originally from the Netherlands, and last year I moved to Ljubljana to continue my study there. But I also have a totally different background. I just started like in this sector doing things. So yeah, I'm really surprised that I already made such a good result. So thank you very much.
You will make it better in the
Congratulations.
future. Congratulations. Thank you. So we come to our second prize. The second prize goes to the project titled See-Through Reddish Wooden Structure. The association that comes to mind when looking at this project is a children's playground. The authors elaborate their idea very well, saying that they are inspired by a playground's capacity for informal socializations. This project focuses on the rituals of eating and playing as natural instigators of socialization and inherent patterns of togetherness. It is based upon a formal strategy of manipulating the stepping platforms, which are combined into a see-through wooden structure that does not have the ambition to represent a solid architectural object, but a hybrid element that triggers different events of togetherness. These stepping platforms extend and transform in order to enable the programmatic essence of playing and climbing, sitting, eating, and enjoying the beautiful vistas of the village through a tripartite yet indivisible composition of an eating stall, a porch, and a tower. The architectural representations consisted of the reddish structure that stands out in the contrast of the yellowish grass, and the black and white scenography of the events of togetherness are both provocative and evocative, leaving space to simultaneously contemplate the architectural idea independently and in the context of the topic on togetherness. Congratulations for the second prize. Do we have the authors here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
We cannot see you. Can you turn on the camera? Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you tell us something about yourself?
Yes, I just finished my second year of studies, and this is my first time in a competition. So I'm very surprised this happened, but the idea was very personal, but also something that was a point of connection. Like I thought that a lot of people might connect to this because it's a very collective experience. So the eating part and the idea of playing, although that existed more of as a memory of a child's playing. And yes.
Congratulations, Alexandra. We presume that the author is young, so we are happy that we predicted it. The idea was great. Congratulations.
Second year in Skopje?
Sorry?
Is it your second year at the Skopje University?
Yes.
Ah, yeah, okay, great. That's exactly what was anticipated. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You should now read the Gaston Bachelard, Poetic of Space.
Yeah, I've read parts of it in my first year.
So you're familiar with the tripartite structure of the Onieric house?
Yes.
Yeah, so this could connect to your pavilion as well, because you really amplified the three partition setting. So congratulations and keep up the good work. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good.
So we come to our first prize, the actual winner of this competition, and it goes to the Open Air House. In the words of its authors, they conceptualize an open air house that represents the concept of a home found outside as a symbol of togetherness. The design is based upon a quadrant divided in 16 fields that absorbs the translation of the elements of traditional house in a public pavilion type architecture consisted of rooms, chardak, and the covering of the roof. The chardak area as a common space is positioned in the middle part and opened for entrance on two sides. It functions as an open central hall, an important special node that connects the rooms configurationally and enables intervening of all inhabitants' daily activities. The rooms provide space for uniting small groups of people in the open air while also having a sheltering function. The space is equipped with less defined, evocative elements that spark in users various ideas for appropriation. The south and north facades are characterized with handcrafted porous membranes made out of ropes, evaluated by the jury as creative low-tech solution. The presentation of the project is conducted as complete and mature technical illustration and 3D visualizations with meticulously chosen color palette. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening here in my display. Scenario montages and contextual relevance of the design. Congratulations to the first prize. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Maybe someone is protesting and it's not agreeing.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So do we have the authors of the first prize here with us?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Congratulations.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Are you happy with your results? I don't know really what's
I'm
happening.
shocked, to be honest.
So, okay. Angela?
Yes, good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Expected to be one of the winners, the first prize?
I was not expecting the first prize, I'm sure. I'm not sure if my colleague Tamara is here.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just using a different account, so it's not showing my name, as you can see.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I don't know. I'm still in shock, kind of.
Yeah, me too. I'm crying.
You have the right to be happy and surprised.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so congratulations to all.
Yes, great.
Do we have other authors from the honorable mentions here? At least to wave at us or comment something? Or the one who was showing his revolt maybe want to say something to us? No, okay. So a congratulations to all of you once again. As conclusion, I would like to add that I'm pleased with our decision. As the first, second, and third prize, we have very different architectural products. One solid architectural objects, one architectural installation, kind of a structure that triggers event of togetherness and an open public space. On the other hand, I think that we have, as conservative and oldish that makes us, as Johan said at one of our sessions, we can underline that architecture of togetherness is about simple things, about everyday rituals, reinvented elements of tradition, finding ways to reconnect with our hometowns, our tradition, our nature. So very, very simple things that bring us all together and make our lives meaningful and humane. So I would like to thank once again to all the participants, all the students that participated in this summer challenge, the jury members, for the inspirational and dedicated work, to all the colleagues, to all the friends that supported the idea of the changed format and the topic of this 29th session Summer School of Architecture, to the colleagues that contributed to our Atlas of Togetherness that worked as kind of an inspirational container for our contestants. And of course to the Dean's Office for the opportunity for realization of it. So immediately after this event, the contestants will receive the official jury report through their single-use email addresses and will be asked to reveal their identity that will be further used for the participation certificates, recognitions, awards, the public exhibition and publication that we prepare. So we can hardly wait to see all the personalities behind the project, and I thank you all once again. For the end, I would ask our Dean, Professor Ognen Marina, to greet all of you and give conclusion to this nice event we have today.
Thank you, Mary. It's a real pleasure to be again with all the participants in this competition. And I would like to express my personal gratitude to all of you, especially the participants, the student participants in this competition. Thank you for all your effort and your dedication to contribute to this very special session, 29th session of the summer school. It's really important that we manage in these special conditions challenged by the pandemic and the COVID-19 virus to maintain the very essence, the very idea of the summer school. And I believe that together with Mary, we managed to find the very suitable challenge, the topic of the challenge, and to discuss the idea of the togetherness. Because togetherness stands in the very essence, not just of the summer school, but also in the essence of the universities and the colleges around the world. So teaching and learning architecture is many times closely associated with the idea of togetherness, but also the process of learning is mainly articulated as many different practices of togetherness. So I would like to express also my personal gratitudes and to express my personal pleasure to be in a company of such a distinguished members of the jury committee, some old friends, Jürgen and Antje, some new friends, Anna, and of course my colleagues, Maria, Anna, and Jovan, who really had a very interesting and inspiring, and I think challenge fulfilled with pleasure to make a decision among 35 competition entries. But of course, my biggest gratitude goes again to the participants to this competition. And I would like to congratulate again to all the award winners and to honorable mentions, but basically we are all, in some manner, we all have achieved a certain level of satisfaction, because I believe that we are all missing this level and this part of our work and education, and that's being together, discussing ideas about architecture and places, and competing, because competing is also part of our profession, and learning how to achieve the best out of us. So by this, I declare this virtual part of the summer school session, 29th session of the summer school, International Summer School in Lazaropole concluded. And I would like to greet you with the words, see you next year in Lazaropole. Thank you.